Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, folks. Michael Zuber, one rental at a time, back with his good friend Dion from Dion Talk. How you doing, buddy?
Howdy, doing great. Happy to be here.
Awesome. One of the things that obviously I had recently had a vacation and had the opportunity to kind of digest some feedback from other content creators. And one thing that I think is pretty obvious and rightly so is we don't do a very good job of talking about first-time home buyers. So I think we should do what we can. We both have bought our first homes. It was a struggle, I'm sure, for both of us. But let's talk about when you bought your first home and that experience and what all happened.
Well, I like that there's different content creators to make us think of different approaches to what we're doing. And I really respect somebody who does a public apology. So I think that's great. So I would like to do a public apology to the entire United States
Oh no. Okay.
because I caused the 2008 housing
Oh,
crash.
you alone. You did it.
Me alone, all by myself.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
I purchased a house
All right.
with an adjustable rate ninja
Oh.
loan. So no income, no job. I just said, I don't know, however much you need me to make, that's how much I make to do this. Originally purchased the house while married, white picket fence to raise the kids, went through a divorce, kept the house, but had to refinance to give her part of the equity.
So let me just set this up. So you buy it. When did you buy it with the wife? What year was that roughly?
It was either 99 or 2000. I can't for the life of me
Okay,
remember.
so let's just call it
Yeah.
2000. So you get in, you're married, white picket fence, raising kids. Got it. Go fast forward 5 or 6 years, divorce happens. You're going to stay at the house. She wants her cash to run away. You do a cash out refi, I'm guessing, and that's the ninja loan.
So it's a ninja loan refinance adjustable rate. Like
Of
that
course,
lender
of
saw me
course it is.
coming. They were like, look, it's 2005. Home values are so high. You could take out equity, which gave me enough to give her equity. And then I turned a carport into a bedroom. So I actually put some of the money to work, which then paid
Okay.
off years later, not on purpose. Adjustable rate, was working in law enforcement. So get laid off in 2008. Adjustable rate mortgage hits 2008. Can't refinance because I'm not working.
Yeah.
Like I'm the cause of the housing crash. I
Yes.
was literally.
So these loans at the time were usually 2-year teasers. So you got in 06, got laid off in 08, the balloon happened in 08, and all hell broke loose from there.
Payment was supposed to go from like 1,088 to 1,800.
Oh, is that all? Just
Yeah,
80%.
just almost 100% increase in cost monthly. It was 80%, but yeah. Luckily,
Wow.
found a lender, landed a job at a truck driving place that paid really well.
Okay.
Got a refinance done, so I didn't lose the house. Originally, when the mortgage first changed, I tried to give the house away.
Yeah, I want to talk about that a little bit. Because that is called a strategic default. At least and that was that was like a phrase. Hey,
Well,
I just
right.
strategically defaulted. Cash for or was like jingle mail. You would mail your keys to the bank, right? These were really things that happen. And when you're upside down and your payment goes from 1,000 to 1,800, you don't have a lot of great options.
I think the situation I was in, the reason that it was kind of unfortunate is I was working in law enforcement, got laid off, didn't know if I'd go back to law enforcement. So a repossession, a foreclosure, or anything like that can be a career killer in law enforcement.
Yeah.
So I tried to figure out how to keep the place and rented it out, moved into an apartment to try to work on my getting rental income on my debt to income ratio. The first year was so bad as an investor because I didn't educate myself. I was a home buyer that was then trying to make a rental without any. I didn't do podcasts, audiobooks. YouTube wasn't really a thing. So I didn't try to give it back to the bank. I tried to do subject to with anybody. Like
Oh, you tried to
put it on the
okay.
MLS, basically just take over payments, basically. But I owed more on it than it was worth because the crash started to happen.
Yeah.
And
But
this is where,
this
like our
is
first video today,
Mhm.
luck came in.
Yes.
I was lucky that I couldn't give the house away because now that property is paid off, rented to a Section 8 tenant at $2,200 a month, and one of my better performing assets. Luckily, I couldn't give away the house.
Yeah, and I just want to I want to remind people that if that situation happened today, somebody would likely get your house, because today you don't have the 2 and 28 teaser toxic loan. You have a 30-year fixed rate mortgage, or in this case, it's paid off, but in theory, that's why I'm telling people I'm trying to add more tools to my tool belt, like subject to and other creative financing, because I think there's a lot of sellers that will have this situation occur, right? I got laid off, or I have to go to Texas, or whatever, and their mortgage is an asset. The last crisis, the reason it got so bad and kept getting worse and worse and worse and worse was the debt structure was toxic. The toxic soup only got worse, right? Toxicity went up with every month. That's not going to happen this time.
Right. Between 2005 and 2006, over 50% of loans were adjustable rate. There were a bunch of ninja loans. I don't know the statistic on how many of those were. But 2 years ago, we had about 3% adjustable rate loans, and now we've ticked up to 11%. So it's increasing, but it's not 50%.
Yeah. And it's 5-year average, not 2-year average.
Right. So the concern that I have, and this lines up with something the lumberjack landlord references too, the debt structure for syndications, the debt structure for large multifamily, I think is going to be the one that takes the hit this time.
I totally agree.
Yeah, not single family, not residential, not the things that primarily our viewers and me, focus on.
So let's talk about buying that first home, right? Let's talk about your purchase in 2000, right? Was it just a straight up FHA? Did you use your VA loan, or what was that all about?
It was a first time home buyer program. So it was conventional first time. I wrapped closing costs into it. So I bought the house for $98,000. There are actually places where houses cost that much back in the dinosaur days. And it was $102,000 financed into the loan.
So you had very little, if anything, down.
Nothing. No, well, it was probably like $1,100 in closing costs. I think we paid for the appraisal and something else. We didn't do a home inspection. Nobody even knew. I didn't know what those were at the time. I went and looked at it. I was like, yeah, it looks good.
Yeah. No, it's not leaning. Must be good.
Right.
So did you, when you just, right, so you're married, couple kids, did you decide on an area? Did you wake up one day? How long did you search? Talk about the whole process of finding this home.
Reached out to a couple of agents and asked for lists. There was no email auto searches at that time.
Right.
So you would get a printed out list of, here's these ones. Let me know if you want to go look at them. Looked at 3 or 4 places and found one that, here's what, we had the kids, we live in Washington State. So here at that time, water meant everything. So I like to scuba dive now, but then I like to go, like this week staying at the cabin and at Beth Traverso's place, I'm renting Sea-Doos while we're there. Back then I had Sea-Doos. So we were trying to find a place on a lake. This house was on a lake, but far enough away with young kids that we wouldn't have to worry about them going to the lake without us. So like checked off a couple of weird boxes that most homebuyers probably aren't looking for. But like most homebuyers, I go to the agent and I go to the lender. What's the payment? I can afford this amount. That's what I want to buy. And then all the other stuff came in. Kind of rural area. So in my area, all the school districts are really good. Later in life, when I moved to the apartments and my kids moved, they were excited to go and be the new girls at the new school. The more urban area, the larger city where we moved to, the school system sucked. Like they went from a music teacher that knew them, that spent extra time, to like not even a music program. So buying the house, we were like the typical home buyer. Investing wasn't on I was, what was I, around 30, and I thought, if I buy it now, pay it off in 30 years, I'll hit retirement with a paid off house. This is, the retirement house. I had no idea how money worked. We had bad debt that I didn't know about. I thought we carried like a net zero balance, never carried a balance. Sea-Doos, we would save for 2 years, buy a Sea-Doo and buy anything on payments. At least that was what I thought was happening. So it was really fun when I had to do a refinance to give somebody a bunch of equity, when I found out they had also created, and I don't know if I've ever shared the real numbers, it was about $313,000 in credit card debt.
Oh my gosh.
So this is a quick nugget to drop for people. I was talking with a bill collector, finding out who are you? How much do I owe you? How do I pay this? Because in law enforcement, bankruptcy wasn't an option. And my ex had filed bankruptcy too. So not only did she create the debt, but our debt became my debt. The lender asked me if I was going to file bankruptcy. And before I could even answer, I was like thinking, well, I'm not going to because I work in law enforcement. He goes, because if you're even thinking about it, we'll take 20% of what you owe us.
Oh.
And the little light bulb went on. So I called every single lender, and across the board, all of them except for a dentist, an apartment complex where we had rented an apartment I didn't know about, and the Discover card took what was owed. They wouldn't budge. But everyone else, 20 to 30%, just calling and saying, hey, my finances are falling apart. I've got some problem. I went through a divorce. I've got some problems in my life. I might have to do a bankruptcy. Would you take a lower amount? Almost every single one, 20 to 30%, reduced it down to 89,000 that I ended up having to take care of.
It takes a lot of work to rack up 300,000 in debt, I would think.
It was creative. If that much effort had been put into the marriage or to her work or whatever, life would have been very different.
Wow.
It takes two people to mess up a marriage. I take ownership. We both messed that up.
I'm just curious.
But
do you
the
have
amount of effort?
What has she gone on? I mean, maybe you don't know. I'm just curious. Has she gone on to do it again? Because usually when people have these habits, they don't just stop the first time.
Let me tell a hypothetical story so I can't get sued. Went from ripping off spouse to ripping off employer to employer to employer to employer to whatever. So wow, this is too much overshare for a video.
So it was a habitual
best thing that ever happened to me wasn't financial freedom. It was meretricious freedom.
There you go. There you go. Very, very cool, Dion. Well, this is a lot of fun. Where can people find you?
Usually not embarrassing myself with overshares, right here on YouTube, Dion Talk Financial Freedom.
Awesome. Thanks, buddy.